We've had Trump 1.0. We've had Sleepy Joe, and now Trump 2.0. I think we need to put a cap on the age. I think there's like a lower threshold for age. There needs to be an upper threshold for age. Which I've never voted for a Democrat. I don't know that I could ever do that, but I've never considered voting for a Democrat more than I have right now. I just saw this morning that, I guess yesterday, the Supreme Court came out and said that tariffs were illegal or unconstitutional, I guess. I don't think that's really a surprise to anybody. The IEEPA, so Trump was using IEEPA, the International Emergencies Economic Powers Act, to basically tax the American people. If you're not aware, a president can't force another country to pay taxes. I don't know if I have heard people that think the Chinese were paying taxes or paying these tariffs. That's not true. You could look at certain ways and say they're going to share in some of the costs. There will be negotiations and whatnot, but the U.S. importer, if you want to look at where the check is actually paid from, the U.S. importer is going to pay that tax when products cross into the United States border. The U.S. president has no control over Chinese or European taxes. Like, they can't say, yeah, give us your tax dollar. He doesn't have that authority. So the only way they can get money is from Americans paying it. Now, there's long-term, there's clauses, like in a lot of companies will have long-term contracts on commodities and products they use quite a bit of. And they'll have they'll have a clause in there, just like an ejection button for if something this stupid ever happens. And so a lot of those clauses got triggered, and then even if there's no legal clause in their contracts for it, they'll negotiate, and so there could be some share of it that is paid by the producers in China or Europe or wherever. They could share in some of the cost. But ultimately, businesses don't pay taxes anyways. All of it's going to fall on the consumer. No matter what the corporate tax rate is, corporations do not pay taxes. It doesn't matter if you tax them at 50%, 10%, it doesn't matter. That's all figured into their business model, and the whoever's buying the products from them ultimately pays taxes. As a single truck owner operator, if I can figure up, I know what the tax rates are that I'll be responsible for, and so I can set my floor, the bottom price that I'm willing to haul freight for. So I'm essentially passing the cost of my taxes on to the shippers. And so if a single truck owner can figure that out, then the CEOs and executives at these corporations, they've got it figured out. They're a lot more sophisticated than a truck driver. I think that's just horseshit. People that are angry and they want a higher corporate tax rate and everything. It doesn't matter. It's just going to be passed along. It's just a way for the government to collect more revenue. So it just leads to bigger government. Really, I think you put it there for just to keep people happy, just so you don't have people protesting and crying in the streets all the time. The court ruling, the Supreme Court, it wasn't a 9-0 hands down victory. It was 6-3. You got 3 of them that said yes, it's okay for the president of the United States to tax the American people with no input from Congress. So Brett Kavanaugh, Clarence Thomas, and they're not showing the other ones. Samuel Alito, I think, was the other one. They all ruled in favor of Trump's tariffs. Somehow, I'd say their opinions no longer matter. If you do something that stupid, we no longer trust you. They've got a lifetime appointment, so they're gonna be there. But I'd say extremely untrustworthy individuals. And thankfully, there was conservatives that ruled, correctly. And Amy Coney Barrett, and you know, she's a conservative, and she ruled against him. So I'd say Amy's got a bigger pair of balls between her legs than Kavanaugh, Thomas, or Alito. At least a few of them stood up and did the right thing. I mean, it should have been obvious to all of them. I'd like to, at some point, I'll read through their whole. I'm interested to read through the whole thing, but it's Saturday. I just saw it in the newspaper this morning. I'm sure it happened yesterday, and I was just busy hauling freight. But and I saw in the news that. So what Trump did is he came out and he just, of course, he bashed the judges or justices that were that went against him, and he said he was disappointed in them. And then he said he's going to put a 10% global tax on everyone. So he's just going to tax everybody 10%. I don't know what the hell he thinks he can do. Like, why he thinks he can do that after the court just said, no, you can't use IEEPA. I don't know. He keeps creeping closer and closer to the Biden level of mental acuity and logic and reasoning. But I just wanted to do a quick update. That was a pretty big ruling that a lot of people have been waiting for in the country. And I'd say most people, if you're a truck driver, then you know, I mean, you already knew how tariffs work. That's not new information. And you may, you know, disagree on whether or not that was useful or it could have been beneficial at some point 10 years down the road maybe, but it was pretty terrible in the short term. I got to reading a little more about this. Well, Trump threw a temper tantrum over the weekend when he found out the Supreme Court slapped his hand and told him that was illegal. You're not a king as much as you think you are. So he threw a temper tantrum. Now he's doing 10% global tariffs. Already said he's going to increase them to 15% under some other, the Section 122 of the Trade Act of 1974. So he can put those on for 150 days. During that time, he said he would also begin a tariff investigation under Section 301 of the Trade Act, which can result in more permanent tariffs. He'll probably get away with it, but they're temporary, and that just creates more confusion and uncertainty. So how can businesses make decisions whenever, I mean, at least it's like 10 or 15%, so it's much lower than it was last spring. But you had businesses that were looking at just shutting down shop or having to scrap their plans, and all the capital expenditures were getting put on hold and everything. I mean, it's just stupid. And for somebody to claim that they're a business person, and Trump is not a business person, by the way. He's a real estate guy. Real estate's not a business. That's an asset class. You have Walmart, Amazon, Google, McDonald's, real estate. Those don't go together. But stocks, bonds, commodities, real estate, all of those match. Real estate is an asset class that you own. It appreciates. You can collect cash flow from it. It's not running a business. He's had other people that run those operations. I mean, he might have done such a bad job. He did bankrupt. I think he's bankrupted over 6 businesses. So that guy's bankrupted more companies than most people in America will ever start or even think about starting. Somebody in MAGA's got to stand up. I mean, not everyone in MAGA can be this stupid. Surely somebody in there has got enough brains to understand these tariffs are just terrible policy. It's just increasing government. It's a protectionist policy that's designed to coddle and put a security blanket over American companies, make them less competitive around the globe, and it's just terrible. It's a tax on consumers in America. Long term, that's just going to weaken the manufacturers in the United States. It's going to make everyone outside the United States work even harder and get more creative and more innovative. And it's going to make everyone in the United States weaker, less competent, less hardworking, less innovative. So it's beyond me how Republicans can be on board with this when none of them supported this kind of stuff beforehand. They're all just I mean, weak, no backbone, no principles, no moral compass, no moral standards. They're a bunch of and got down on their knees and started sucking his little wiener. It's just embarrassing. It increased the size of government, and he's increasing the deficit, running up more debt. So how can you do both at the same time? That's pretty hard to do. We couldn't have a less intelligent person in there without making the comparison to Joe Biden. That's about the only one you can compare him to. And it's, I mean, you're talking about mentally handicapped person there.
You don't call retarded people retards.
I mean, he's like suffering from Alzheimer's or dementia, Alzheimer's, whatever it was. People got no independent thought. They're all brainwashed. They they all bend the knee and kiss the ring. It's embarrassing. And I voted for Trump, by the way.
It's my fault.
I voted for him. Not Trump 2.0, but 1.0 I did. Just because I hated Hillary so much. I've never voted for a Democrat. I don't know that I could ever do that, but I've never considered voting for a Democrat more than I have right now. I just don't think anybody should be a Republican or a Democrat. I think you should make people earn your vote every single time. I don't think you should. I mean, by signing up and claiming one team or another, whether it's Republican or Democrat, you're giving them a free pass to do a bunch of stupid things. You're saying, well, I'm going to lean in your direction regardless. And if you're already leaning that way, then the propaganda is always going to push you over the line. You're always going to be on their side. So why not be an independent and just make them earn your vote and just vote on the policies themselves every time? But here we are, United States in 2026. This is where we're at. We've had Trump 1.0. We've had Sleepy Joe, and now Trump 2.0. I think we need to put a cap on the age. I think there's like a lower threshold for age. There needs to be an upper threshold for age. We got to get somebody in there under the age of 60 pretty soon. And I guess 60 would be, 65 would probably be fine, but I mean, we're like in the 80s now. I mean, that's what people are passing away. I mean, obviously Trump he probably spends 3 hours in front of the mirror getting makeup put on every morning before he gets in front of the cameras. But I'll shut up. Y'all let me know what you think of all this. I'm sure we'll get some interesting comments. But y'all take care. Stay safe out there.